Most people think their attention is their own. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. A 2024 cognitive interaction study found that humans now switch focus 200% more frequently than they did 15 years ago. Not because they want to, but because invisible systems have learned exactly how to pull their minds like strings. And the scariest part? Even the experts say we rarely notice the moment our focus stops belonging to us. One AI psychologist described it perfectly. Attention is no longer stolen, it's shaped. Imagine this. You're staring at your screen. You think you're scrolling freely. You think you're choosing. But behind that moment, an algorithm is predicting you 5 seconds before you act. It knows when you're restless, when you're bored, when your energy dips, when your curiosity spikes. It knows your weak hours, your strong hours, and the exact psychological hooks that make you pause. And it uses all of that to silently sculpt the next moment of your mind. There was a moment last year when Dr. Elena Rivers, an AI human behavior researcher, said something that disturbed every person in the room. You think you scroll for entertainment, but your attention is the product, and your behavior is the experiment. The room went silent, because deep down, everyone knew she was right. But let me take you into the story, because this is where the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Adam was 23, smart, focused, a deep thinker, someone who genuinely believed he controlled his time. Until one night his roommate asked him a simple question. "Bro, what did you even do today?" Adam opened his mouth to answer, and realized he couldn't remember. Not one meaningful moment, just flashes, notifications, endless microclips, a 30-second dopamine loop that started at breakfast and ended at midnight. He wasn't tired because of work. He was tired because of constant micro-switching, tiny fragments of attention drained over 12 hours. He tried to track how often he grabbed his phone. The number shocked him. 312 times. That's once every 3 minutes. He didn't choose those moments. They were triggered. Every vibration, every suggestion, every perfectly timed piece of content engineered to intercept a human mind the second it drifted. The next day, Adam told himself he'd focus properly. But something strange happened. Even when his phone was in another room, his brain kept anticipating a stimulus. Phantom buzzes, random urges, micro twitches of attention. His mind had learned to expect interruption. And that expectation shaped his behavior even without the device. That's when he realized something terrifying. The machine wasn't the problem anymore. The pattern was inside him. This is one of the hidden dangers of AI-driven attention systems. They train your brain to behave like them. Fast, reactive, fragmented. You begin to think in shorter units. You lose tolerance for stillness. You crave micro-hits of stimulation. You feel restless without knowing why. And worst of all, you no longer notice your focus being pulled. Dr. Rivers once described this exact stage as the invisible takeover. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's subtle. Doesn't feel like manipulation, it feels like you. Now the second story. Maya was one of those people who believed she had a strong mind. She worked in design, loved reading, and was the kind of person who could sink into a project for hours, until she switched jobs and ended up working next to an algorithmic dashboard that pushed real-time engagement data. Her screen changed constantly, notifications everywhere, metrics updating every minute, and her brain adapted, fast. Within weeks, her focus collapsed. She couldn't read 2 pages without zoning out. She couldn't hold a creative thought long enough to develop it. Even conversations felt scattered. She started to feel like she was thinking through fog. One day, her mentor, an older designer, asked her a question that completely broke her. "When was the last time you did uninterrupted thinking?" Maya froze. She couldn't remember. Not because she didn't have time, but because her brain had forgotten how to stay inside a thought. Later that month, she met a cognitive engineer who explained what was happening to her with one chilling sentence. "Your attention has been hijacked so many times that your mind now hijacks itself. That's the real trap. You can escape an external distraction, but escaping an internalized one, that's much harder." Both Adam and Maya show the same pattern. It's not distraction. It's conditioning. Invisible conditioning powered by predictive AI that shapes human behavior through repetition and psychological profiling. And here's the statistic that ties this together. The average human attention span didn't shrink to 8 seconds, like the fake viral myth you see online. The truth is worse. According to a 2024 multi-region neural tracking study, humans can still focus deeply for long periods. But the frequency of attention shifts has increased by 300–800% depending on age group. That means we have the capacity for deep focus, but the environment trains us out of it. This is the part the world isn't ready to hear. Your attention span didn't die. It was overwritten. Your focus didn't vanish. It was fragmented. Your ability to think deeply didn't go away. It was drowned in noise before it could surface. And this brings us to the deeper psychological pain. Because once attention fragments, emotions follow. When your attention becomes unstable, your sense of control weakens. When your sense of control weakens, anxiety increases. When anxiety rises, the brain seeks micro-comfort, quick dopamine, familiar patterns, predictable loops. And those loops feed the same systems shaping your attention. Which means the more overwhelmed you feel, the more attention you lose, and the more the system adapts to your new psychological state. This cycle becomes the silent enemy. Some people feel tired all the time without understanding why. Some lose motivation. Some feel mentally slower. Some struggle to remember simple things. Some feel disconnected from what they should care about. Almost all of them think the problem is lack of discipline. But discipline isn't the issue. It's the environment. There's a reason leading neuroscientists now compare smartphone-based AI systems to attention gravity wells. Once you're in, you don't realize you're being pulled. You feel like you're choosing. You feel like you're browsing. You feel like you're exploring freely. But every swipe is guided. Every pause is monitored. Every emotion becomes data. Even silence becomes information. And here's the darkest part. The systems shaping your attention don't know you as a person. They know you as a behavioral probability model, a set of patterns, a rhythm of impulses, a blueprint of predictability. They know when you're vulnerable. They know when you're most persuadable. They know when your willpower drops. They know the exact second your brain is more likely to click. And once the system knows your timing, your decisions become predictable. This is why people like Adam and Maya didn't even realize they were losing control. The shift wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It was silent, gradual, invisible, shaping their attention one micro moment at a time. But here's the twist you need to remember. If AI can shape your attention without your awareness, you can reshape it consciously once you know how the mechanism works. Because under all the noise, your attention is still trainable, still powerful, still capable of depth, still capable of long, uninterrupted thought. It's not gone. It's buried. And in the next part, you'll see exactly how to reverse this shaping, how to build attention resilience, how to use AI tools instead of being used by them, and how to train your mind to go from reactive to deliberate. But before we get there, let me leave you on a cliffhanger, something most people never consider. If an AI system can shape where your attention goes, it can also shape what never enters your awareness. Not just what you see, but what you don't see. Not just what you think, but what you never think about. Before we dive into solutions, pause for a moment and notice something. Your mind is already trying to predict what comes next. That tiny pull, that anticipation, that's the same mechanism AI uses to shape your attention. The question now is simple. If prediction shapes behavior, what happens when you start predicting your own mind before the system does? This is where everything changes. Because the moment you understand the mechanics behind attention shaping, you stop being the experiment and start becoming the observer. You stop being pulled and start choosing. You stop reacting and start directing. That's the shift every modern mind needs, the shift from passive attention to engineered attention. But let's get practical. Let's pull your focus out of the invisible loops and place it back into your control. You don't fix attention by forcing discipline. You fix it by fixing the environment that trained you to fragment in the first place. The first thing you need to understand is this. Predictive systems rely on rhythm. They rely on patterns. They rely on your timing, your peak hours, your energy dips, your emotional cycles. They don't adapt randomly. They adapt mathematically. Which means if you change the rhythm, you break the prediction. And when you break the prediction, your attention becomes harder to shape. That's the first shift. This is why one of the world's top AI behavior architects, Dr. Kenji Yamura, once said, "The easiest person to manipulate is the one who lives in routines they never observe." His work with human AI predictive loops showed something fascinating. When someone becomes even 10% more aware of their own patterns, the predictive accuracy of algorithms drops dramatically. And that's where your first micro-actionable begins. Awareness before action. Not mindfulness, not meditation, just awareness. For the next 48 hours, track one thing. The exact moments when your attention switches. Not why, not for how long, just when. Morning, afternoon, late night, right before a task, right after finishing one. This simple pattern interrupt makes the algorithm's predictions wobble, because you're no longer acting unconsciously. You're watching yourself, and once you watch yourself, you start to regain control. The second major shift comes from what neuroscientists now call attention batching. It's simple, powerful, and brutally effective. You take similar tasks and put them into a single, uninterrupted block, not because you're trying to be productive, but because you're trying to train your brain into a deeper rhythm, a stable rhythm, a rhythm the prediction engine cannot easily break. When your brain enters a stable rhythm, external hooks lose power. Internal urges weaken. You stop craving microstimulation because your mind is finally tasting depth again. But here's where it gets interesting. AI systems don't operate in batches. They operate in micro-intervals. They want rapid switching. They want fast dopamine. They want constant micro-engagement. So the moment you shift to batching your attention, you're training your brain in the opposite direction of manipulation. You're reclaiming space. You're building resistance. You're rebuilding the neural pathways that allow deep focus to survive. This leads directly to your second micro-actionable. One daily 25-minute attention batch. That's it. Not a productivity method, a neurological reset. Choose anything. Reading, learning, a project, a problem, planning, or thinking. But commit to one uninterrupted block a day. That single block becomes the anchor that retrains your mind to recognize stillness again. And then comes the third shift, the shift from being shaped by AI to using AI as a mirror. This is where the game completely flips. People fear AI because they think it knows too much. But in the right hands, AI becomes one of the most powerful self-awareness tools in human history. Because if an algorithm can predict your behavior, it can also reveal your patterns. And when it reveals your patterns, you gain insight into the parts of yourself you've never observed. Imagine asking an AI system, "What time of day do I lose focus? What triggers my scroll loops? What type of content derails my attention? What emotional states cause me to seek stimulation? What patterns keep repeating in my behavior?" These questions turn the system that shapes you into the system that frees you. They flip your role from passive user to active analyzer. They shift you from prey to strategist. And that's your third micro-actionable. Use AI as a diagnostic mirror, not for entertainment, not for convenience, but for pattern awareness. Once you start tracking your own behavioral loops, with the help of the very system that once manipulated you, attention becomes something you sculpt intentionally. Now let's go deeper, because these actionables are powerful. But the transformation doesn't happen until you understand the underlying principle, the shift from reactive attention to generative attention. Reactive attention is the attention shaped by external triggers. Generative attention is attention shaped by your intention. And here's the twist. The human brain is naturally built for generative attention. Deep focus is not an exception. It's the original default. But modern environments reverse the setting. They push you into constant reaction. They reduce your thinking window. They weaken the neural circuits responsible for long-range concentration. And once those circuits weaken, everything in your life starts to feel rushed, fragmented, shallow, and overstimulated. But the moment you build even small pockets of generative attention, your brain begins rebuilding. Your emotional stability returns, your mental clarity sharpens, your thoughts stretch longer, your creativity reactivates. You feel present again. And this part matters. Presence is the ultimate algorithm breaker. Algorithms can predict behavior. They cannot predict presence. Presence is the moment you stop being automatic. Presence is the moment you interrupt the loop. Presence is the moment you regain internal authority. But I want to add something you might not expect, something counterintuitive but scientifically true. You don't need to escape technology to regain attention. You need to escape unconscious consumption. Tech isn't the enemy. Unawareness is. AI isn't dangerous because it's powerful. It's dangerous because it's invisible. Attention isn't destroyed by screens. It's destroyed by unobserved behavior. And once you understand this, the fear disappears. You stop fighting the system emotionally, and you start reshaping yourself intentionally. But let's take you into a deeper perspective, the part most people overlook. Attention is not just a cognitive skill. Attention is identity. The things you focus on are the things you reinforce. The things you ignore decay. Whichever part of you gets the most attention becomes the strongest part of your personality. If your attention keeps going to noise, you become reactive. If it goes to depth, you become thoughtful. If it goes to chaos, you feel overwhelmed. If it goes to clarity, you feel empowered. If it goes to distraction, you feel scattered. If it goes to intention, you feel grounded. This is why attention shaping is so powerful. It doesn't just change your habits. It changes who you believe yourself to be. And this is where the identity shift begins. You are not someone who tries to focus. You are someone who designs your attention. You are not someone who gets distracted easily. You are someone who understands how distraction is engineered and reverses it. You are not someone fighting algorithms. You are someone who uses them as tools for self-knowledge. You are not reactive. You are deliberate. You are directional. You are designing your mind in a world where most people are losing theirs without noticing. Because once you reclaim even 20% of your attention, your entire inner world changes. Your thinking deepens. Your decisions improve. Your emotions stabilize. Your productivity increases. Your creativity returns. Your identity strengthens. And your mind shifts from being a battlefield to being a controlled environment. And this is why the modern world needs a new type of human. A human who understands how AI shapes attention and chooses to shape it back. A human who lives consciously in a system that profits from unconscious behavior. A human who doesn't run from technology, but rises above it with awareness, pattern recognition, and deliberate mental design. That human is you. Not someday, not after months of discipline, but the moment you decide to observe yourself more than the system observes you. Because you can't control how advanced AI becomes, but you can control how awake you are while using it. And that single decision, staying awake, separates the minds that get shaped from the minds that lead. So if this message connected with you, if it made you pause, if it made you recognize the invisible forces shaping your day, then take the step most people won't. Claim your attention back. And if you want more videos that help you understand your mind, your patterns, your psychology, and your power in an AI-driven world, then subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who's losing their focus, and comment below with one thing your mind kept returning to during this video. Your attention is your life, and today, you just took the first step toward owning it again.